God's grace, mercy, and peace to you as a state through Christ, our Savior and Lord. Amen. There was a certain mother who had a small business. It worked out really well when the girls were little. She began cleaning houses, and the business took root. It took off. As they grew a little bit older, the girls were able to join their mom and help in the cleaning. When the girls were in their teenage years, their father became very ill. He passed away. It was a very sad time. He had a life insurance policy, and the mother received an inheritance, was the beneficiary of that policy, received some money. And the girls were told that there was some money that their mom received, but it should be saved and saved for the girls, that if mom should pass away, it would be divided between them. And they didn't really have access to that money, but there was one exception. They could use that money to go to school, to go to college. So as they grew a little bit older, the older daughter, she got more involved in the family business, and they hired several people, and she got involved in the scheduling and the management of the company. The younger daughter, she decided she wanted to go. She wanted to get out of this town, experience the world. And since they didn't have a lot of money, she would take advantage of that loophole and take that money that Dad had left and go to school. But since she wanted to travel, she found the farthest school that she could find. She applied to and enrolled in the University of Hawaii. And when she told her mom, she said, "Mom, I'm going to school." Mom said, "Okay. University of Hawaii." "What?" "Well, that's so far away, and it's going to be so expensive if I ever hope to come and visit you. Are you sure that's what you want to do?" She said, "Yep." So Mom went ahead and paid the first year's tuition, helped her pack up her stuff, and sent her off to school with her blessing. Well, it wasn't long before that younger daughter realized that no one was holding her hand to make sure that she would do her homework. And nobody was making sure that she would actually attend to the classes that she was enrolled in. So it wasn't long before she was failing her classes. She never really established much of a grade to lose. She was failing out, and instead she was spending her time in that classic college art of partying. Learning to drink, hang out with friends, lots of different boyfriends. Well, since she was doing so poorly in her classes, she decided to just drop out of school altogether. Toward the end of the semester, Mom called in to see how things were doing, how her finals were going to be, and see if she needed any more money. And the younger daughter was very blunt. She said, "Mom, I dropped out, and you're an idiot." Mom said, "What?" She said, "This is a great big world, and there's all kinds of life out here to experience. And I think you're an idiot. You asked if I needed more money, and the answer is yes. I want the rest of what I would have spent on college." And she hung up. Mom was shocked. She couldn't believe this. What in the world? She hadn't raised the girls to be this way. She hadn't raised her daughter to speak to her this way, or to be greedy like this. She tried to teach them the value of an honest day's work. She was flabbergasted. She didn't even know how to respond. She felt like she didn't even know her daughter. Not only was she far away, but she felt very far away. In her stupor, in her confusion, and in her sense of loss, she found herself going down to the bank and withdrawing the entire amount of her tuition and writing a check in her name and sending it to her. She didn't even know why she was doing it. Well, when the younger daughter got that money, of course, she was living large. She was ready. She got her own apartment. She found the first apartment that caught her eye, and she went ahead and signed a lease for a penthouse apartment in Honolulu. Not a cheap place, but in her eyes, she had all the money in the world. She went ahead and bought a car. She had a huge bank account. She could afford these things, and she went on a shopping spree, bought herself a whole new wardrobe, and she was having a great time. Well, it was just over a year later when she finally got evicted, because of course the money does run out. She learned the hard way. Her car got repoed, and she had to give away most of those clothes. She remembered her mom saying how important a job could be, and that's what would see her through life was knowing how to put in a good day's work. And so she applied for several jobs, but no one in town was hiring. And especially nobody was hiring a college dropout party girl. She was couch surfing with friends who turned out not to be such good friends when she didn't have a lot of money to share with them. she realized that she didn't have enough to go out to fast food. And she knew she'd hit a real hard place when she found herself looking for her next meal in a dumpster. She remembered growing up that her mom was always looking for young girls who were looking to get a start in life and was hiring them to be cleaners for the company. She thought, well, maybe. I know I can't go home, and she got choked up even thinking about the way that she'd spoken to her mom. But she thought, maybe I can at least work for her for minimum wage. Go from there. So she scrounged and borrowed all she could to find enough to get a ticket. She mustered her courage. She called her mom. Mom, it's all gone. All of it. I lost everything. I'm coming back to the mainland. I'll be there Tuesday at 10. She hung up again. She was so ashamed of how she'd spoken to her before, she couldn't even stay on the phone very long with her mom, but she wanted to let her know that she was coming. She didn't ask her to pick her up or anything, but Mom, on the other hand, she could barely sleep Monday night. And Tuesday morning, she was there at the airport at 9:30 in the morning. She wanted to make sure not to miss her daughter when she came in. And so she was there eagerly waiting in the terminal, watching, looking. 9:45, 10 o'clock, 10:15, 10:30. Well, she didn't say exactly, she didn't even say what flight it was, and maybe there was a layover somewhere, and 11 o'clock, 11:30, 12 o'clock, still no daughter. Maybe there was a connecting flight, and maybe that got delayed or even canceled, and so she kept waiting. 1 o'clock, and she realized at 1 o'clock that her daughter hadn't said whether it was 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. But she wasn't going to leave the airport. She thought about it for a second. She thought, well, she's not coming until tonight. No. I can't dare to miss her. And maybe I just misunderstood. She decided she'd wait all day if she had to. So she found a little cafe and got herself some lunch and sat down where she would still have a good view of the terminal and could watch the traffic as people were coming and going. Was there all day and all night. Come 9:30 in the evening, she could feel herself getting excited again as she stood and began to look. People were coming. 9:45, 10 o'clock, 10:15. She was coming, wasn't she? 10:30. And at 10:38, she finally saw her daughter walking down the terminal. She was carrying this tattered, ragged little purse and wearing the skimpiest little skirt and top that Mom had ever seen. It was a cold evening out. But I guess coming from Hawaii, that made a little more sense that she should be wearing such a thing. Well, Mom just stood right in the middle of the terminal and waited as her daughter approached. And her daughter, she had seen her mom and she couldn't bear to look at her, but she knew she had to go see her. And as she drew closer, she was thinking, what to say? I'm so sorry. And before she even approached, Mom was unbuttoning her overshirt. And her daughter drew closer and said, Mom, I'm so sorry. Mom said, shh. Took off her overshirt, revealing a threadbare, tattered, stained t-shirt through which you could see her bra. Mom didn't care. She took off her shirt, wrapped it around her daughter, and said, only love. Only love. The next day, when the older daughter got up to get ready for the day, she saw on the calendar that Mom had called the most expensive restaurant in town and had made a reservation for that evening. Welcome home, and the younger daughter's name. She was furious. She determined in that moment, after her sister had wasted that inheritance, after her sister had been so awful, there was no way she was going to that meeting. Well, come that evening, when Mom and her younger daughter were at the restaurant getting ready to be seated, she realized that her older daughter wasn't there, and she decided to call her and said, Honey, we're here at the restaurant. Are you coming? Mom, there's no way I am coming to this meal. I can't believe that you would even have such a meal. She wasted that money. She dishonored this family. And worst of all, she broke your heart. I was there. I had to hold you and put you back together when she hurt you like that. I can't believe that you would just let all that go. Mom said, honey, that's true. It's all true. And you're such an easier daughter to get along with. But she seemed so far away, I thought I'd lost her. And now she's back. It would mean so much if you could come celebrate with us. So is the younger daughter a villain, or is she just young? How do you hear her character? Do you hear that she is this awful, horrible person? Or do you hear that she's a normal kid, striking out into the world, stretching her wings a little bit, learning how to be independent? It's kind of what we all go through. It's a natural process, pushing your family away and learning your own place in the world. She doesn't seem a very sympathetic character. But when we think about it, who among us here hasn't indulged ourselves? Even this week, even at the expense of others, even contrary to who God might want us to be. And that older daughter, she's right, isn't she? She's right in being so angry, in feeling so frustrated. She's been the responsible one, the disciplined one, putting mom and the family business even above her own interests. She's worked hard. And her resentment, her anger, her bitterness is justified. It's warranted. But there's a problem there. In her anger, she herself is becoming the far-off daughter. Breaking ties with mom and with her sister for the sake of her principles. The hard reality is that sometimes we have to choose between being right being in relationship. Why is that so hard sometimes? So painful. After all, it's only an invitation to a party, to a celebration. An invitation to joy. If only we can get beyond our self-righteousness, maybe we too could know that joy. Quote this week, to forgive is to set a prisoner free and discover that prisoner is you. And then there's that foolish mom. Totally foolish. Overlooking the offenses, humiliating herself for one who is so undeserving. And then going on to host a feast instead of giving a lecture or punishing. Thank God for foolish moms. Thank God for the foolishness of grace. The parable ends with an invitation to rejoice, to celebrate. With an invitation to joy. Regardless of what distant country we may find ourselves in